So we're only a few days away from those threatened 50% U.S. tariffs. The date for those is next Wednesday, August the 19th. And right now, despite the fact that negotiations have been happening on a pretty regular basis, we've not heard really anything from the lead negotiator for Canada, at least our minister, Dominic LeBlanc. Up until now, it's been, well, things are going okay. There have been no details released. And I think the last time Mike Liquid-Sur, CTV reporter, tried to corner him on a street in Washington where the talks were going on, he said he'd let us know when there was something to talk about. Well, that may be the Canadian side of this, but the U.S. side, well, at least today from what I heard from their U.S. lead trade representative, Jamieson Greer, it sounds to me, very ominous in terms of how this is going to progress if we eventually get to a point where we're not simply facing these 50% tariffs. Julian Karaguesian is on the line right now. He served in the Canadian Ministry of Finance and the Embassy in Washington, now professor of economics at McGill. Julian, I want to start off, and thank you for being here. I want to start off by playing what I heard from Julian Karaguesian, or from Jamieson Greer today, and then have you comment on this, okay? Here we go.
America has its trade policy. It's going to pursue its trade policy. We've been working with our Canadian colleagues. Obviously, they have ideas. There are elements of U.S. trade policy that they don't like. Part of that is because they've had completely free access to the U.S. market for many decades. So we're having what I would call constructive negotiations with the Canadians. At the end of the day, President Trump in the United States, we're going to do what is best for America. If there's a way to bring Canada along with that, we're happy to do that. But we are mostly focused, first and foremost, on making sure President Trump's trade policy is executed. We'll keep talking to our Canadian partners, just like we do all of our trading partners. I've got two countries in the world that have retaliated against the United States for trade measures: the People's Republic of China and Canada. That's not the kind of company you really want to be running in. And so we have three issues where Canadians have banned the sale of American wine and spirits in Canada. For everything that we've done in the Trump trade administration of essentially assessing a fee on foreign goods made by foreign workers, we're not in the business of banning these things from Canada. So that's interesting. So that has to be resolved. We have an uneven dairy treatment. In some instances, Canada gives the EU better treatment on dairy than they give us, their best customer, and we want the benefit of our bargain from NAFTA and USMCA on dairy. And then we have a variety of other issues on procurement and a variety of things like that. I mean, those things have to be resolved because that's the legal basis for those other tariffs.
So to me, that doesn't sound very promising at all, Julian, but that's me. What do you think from what you just heard?
No, I agree, Aaron. It doesn't sound promising at all. And I think, I think when we spoke a few times earlier this year that we knew it wasn't going to go easy. And what's interesting is, like, number one, basically they're saying again, and this time Jamieson Greer saying it, and he said it before, and so is President Trump, and all of them, all of the senior cabinet and the president, they're saying that we can do whatever we want, and you can't retaliate. So they're talking about our provincial level bans on U.S. spirits, wine, beer, but we only have those in response to their tariffs. So they're basically telling us, regardless of what we do to you on tariffs, you can't retaliate. They're telling us, despite the fact that they have massive subsidies in their agriculture, I mean, truly immense subsidies, I think the second in the world after the EU, and also large subsidies for aircraft makers and for a range of industries. They're saying that you can't have supply management in dairy. I just find it hard to believe that the Trump administration really cares about dairy farmers in Vermont and Wisconsin. It seems like they're after something else. And the message is, we're doing what's in our interest, but you can't do what's in your interest. You have to come along with us, or we're going to treat you like we're going to treat you like our adversary, China. So I don't think it's going well. And the fact that, as you alluded to in your introduction, you talked about Minister LeBlanc, he keeps saying the same thing. Almost ad nauseum. I don't blame him, but he keeps saying we're doing what's in the best interests of Canadians. It could be that they're close to a deal. I don't think so. Or it could be that he has nothing to say right now about that.
I wonder, Joseph, given the tone, I don't know how much we can, attribute to tone, but that's all we have to work with so far. It seems to me like, this idea, and I wonder, by the way, how many people even thought of this. Jamieson Greer went out of his way to say, the ban on alcohol is just that. It's a ban. That's something the U.S. did not do with anything. They have duties and tariffs. It's almost like if we had just, sort of had a retaliatory tariff on alcohol, we would have been better off.
Yeah, I noticed that. That was interesting what he said, that they haven't banned anything. But it's true and it's not true, if I can say it that way. It's true they haven't outright banned anything, but a 50% tariff on automobiles built in Canada is an effective ban that prices them out of the market. A 50% tariff on our steel is effectively a ban. It prices our steel out of the market. The aluminum tariff, they did a global 50% aluminum tariff. So we're not any worse off. They're just hurting their own. They're just hurting their own industries because they don't make aluminum.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that he said that because prohibitive tariffs are like a ban.
But I wonder, though, do you get the sense, Julian, that this is going to have to be we give in entirely or else kind of a scenario? Is it enough if we simply say, well, you know what, we'll just reduce tariffs or reduce duties, like, say, dairy, for example? We know that supply management is not going to change. The Prime Minister has made that pretty clear. Do we have room to give in to some degree?
I think we do. I think the Americans have up to 4% of our market. Now, for whatever reason, they haven't taken full advantage of that. Part of that is because large Canadian dairy processors and egg middlemen, they've come in, and there are some of these companies, these processing companies, they're gigantic corporations. They operate on both sides of the border. Some of them are based in Canada and have subsidiaries in the United States. They could be claiming part of the U.S. quota and basically saying that they're American too. So I'm not really sure, but I just find it hard to believe that the Trump administration really cares about that. I think they're using that issue, but there is wiggle room to answer your question. The problem is we can't give too much because, we created these things for a reason, for food security, to support our farmers. We do have stronger regulation. There's been a collapse in food safety regulation in the United States with all the different outbreaks, particularly this summer. And so, but there is wiggle room, but we're not going to open the market wide open.
So, I was just going to ask one other thing with respect to this idea of retaliation, right? I mean, you heard Jamieson Greer say, put us in the same category as China, saying we are the only two countries of all the countries, and that's everyone, who has had duties or tariffs imposed that have done this. Is that accurate? What have other countries done? Because if everyone's had tariffs or duties assessed, we know they didn't all necessarily say, oh, sure, that's fine, we'll go ahead and pay them. What have they done?
Well, at one level, it's true. We're the only two countries that have put retaliatory tariffs. We took a lot of ours off when the Americans said any goods covered under CUSMA can come in. We took a large swath of retaliatory tariffs off, but we have retaliatory measures in place like China. Now, other countries haven't done that. Other countries rushed to make a deal. So you saw Korea, Japan, the EU. They rushed to Washington, made deals, probably part bogus deals where they said they're going to invest $800 billion in the United States. Japan promised $750 billion in investment. Trump got the headlines. Look at me. I'm being tough on Japan. I'm being tough on Europe. I'm being tough on Korea. But they have not retaliated. It's interesting. It is truly, in terms of retaliatory tariffs, it's truly only the People's Republic of China and Canada.
Was that as I hear you say this, I think, was that our mistake? I mean, hindsight's 20/20 to not have gone there, to rush there, and even as you're suggesting, if we lied and said we were going to do this, this, and this, just to make it look like we were complying.
I mean, we could have done that. The problem is that we're so close, and the problem is that the Trump administration, they really don't want American automobiles made in Canada. They don't want steel made in Canada. And that's where part of the competition's coming from. They can ban Chinese steel, they can ban Indian steel, they've put sanctions on Russian steel, but they can't. It's hard to do that. We have NAFTA, so we're one of their problems because they want a permanent majority in the swing states, and the swing states are Ohio and Pennsylvania and Indiana, and those are the states that are making vehicles, vehicle parts, and steel. among the states. And I just don't see the Trump administration yielding on that. The midterms are coming. They've had a hard time in Iran. They lost their trade war with China. They lost their tariff battle in the Supreme Court. They're looking for a victory. And I just don't think they're going to yield on the tariffs on our steel and automobiles. I think they're going to give up on aluminum, but I don't think they're going to give in on the other things. I think they're just going to play hardball right through the midterms.
All right, we will leave it at that. Julian, always appreciate the insight. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Aaron. Take care.
Take care. Julian Karaguesian on what he sees happening. Remember, the deadline is next Wednesday, August 19th. Doesn't look all that good, does it?
iHeartRadio is throwing it back.
2010s, the decade.
To the days of huge hits and unforgettable anthems. A non-stop stream of the biggest and best.
Drake, Rihanna, Beyonce, Katy, Gaga, The Weeknd,
and more. All your decade-defining favorites, all in one place.
Hi, it's Katy Perry.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
This is Kesha.
Find 2010's The Decade on the free iHeartRadio app. Preset the station so it's always one tap away.